Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, checking in on the cryptocurrency space. It's been a long time since I've done a video, probably the longest stretch in a couple of years. But we've got a get together in town, first Chart Guys meetup. 40, 50 people came in, and we've been having a lot of fun going to waterfalls and doing hikes and going to breweries and seeing some live music, throwing some catered get-togethers. So shout out to everybody who came out of the Chart Guys members, and certainly a shout out to those who wish they could be here. Come to the next one. We'll wait for you then. And now let's look at the cryptocurrency space. A lot's gone on since we last talked. We were looking for the oversold bounce, so I'll pretty much go over the last few days because at this point, the trade is not ideal as far as the setup, so we'll go over that. For me, I began scaling into Bitcoin when the 4-hour RSI got oversold, and that was up at about 10,700. So that was my first entry. Again, spaced my orders out, slowly scaled in, and my last order filled at about 9,515. So what that means is, number one, as I said in a recent video, I'm not looking to get all of my capital used. If I'm all in, I am no longer in control of the trade. So when I'm looking to play an oversold bounce, ideal scenario is the bounce begins before I am out of ammo. So I did have one order left sitting at 9,415 and ended up bouncing before that order filled. But from there, I would have put a stop loss in under 9,000, and if that level broke, it would have been a fat loss of a trade. And I can remember waking up in the middle of the night, 1 in the morning, and seeing we were down at 9,500 and already anticipating, okay, this is where I will put my stop loss. If this level is hit, I will lose this much money. And that would have been the first time to result in a big loss with this strategy in the cryptocurrency space. For me, this strategy has worked out a dozen times. There's been another handful of times where it hasn't worked out, but the result has been pretty much break even because the bounce eventually does come. And this would have been the first, but fortunately, we did get a 10, 11% bounce, and that big loss never happened. That being said, it is likely to result in a loss for me on this trade, but certainly a manageable loss that I will be able to get back after a winner or two, which is obviously the ideal scenario, keeping our losers small. So how I manage this is, again, scaling in, like I said in the last video, 10,700, 10,500, 10,400, and then I sold a bunch of that at break even before going to bed to free up that capital again and to lower the size of position that I had. We then saw another leg down, so I started getting filled 10,100, 9,900, 9,700, so on and so forth. And I did a little bit of flipping. For example, I got filled at 9,910, and I flipped and sold that at 10,245. Actually, let's go. I'm trying to remember specifically what it was. It was right here. I got filled at 10,010. I sold it here at 10,200 and change. And then I reloaded that same position, 9,910. So I was starting to do some active small flips to ensure that I kept that capital and didn't end up going all in. So got my fills, and then we were looking for just a 4-hour lower high. What stood out is obviously the RSI got to more extreme levels than we've seen in a very long time. The 4-hour RSI was almost at single digits. And you scroll back and say, when's the last time the 4-hour RSI got this low? And the answer is back when we were in the $3,000, $4,000 range. That's a long time ago. If we're in a weekly and a daily downtrend, that RSI level wouldn't surprise me. But because we're in a weekly uptrend and a daily uptrend coming off of a 12-day bull move, it was very surprising to me how extreme that RSI got. And even just counting how many 4-hour red candles did we get in a row, how many 6-hour red candles did we get in a row, this pullback was very unusual in terms of its sustained downward action. So I began to think, something's going on behind the scenes. What's up here? And if you looked on Twitter, there were people talking about the exit scam, and I forget the name off the top of my head. That's how little it matters to me in terms of the details of it. But exit scam in China, Chinese regulators forcing the liquidation of the assets of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that potentially adding downward pressure. So I looked on Twitter. That was only listed in a couple of places. It wasn't news that was being spread as FUD by everybody. So that, in combination with the price action that seemed very odd to me, made me think there might be something to that. That might actually be what's going on right now. Because again, something is up with these RSI levels getting this extreme when we are coming off such a significant bullish move on the daily time frame. So in the end, where we stand right now, I have exited. So we had a 4-hour bounce take place, And as the 4-hour RSI cooled off, we knew a lower high was coming. Anything under 10,600 was just a lower high. We had bounced, 8% at that point. And I started scaling out right at the exponential resistance. And so I scaled out a solid amount of my position. My average was about 10,200, 10,300 or so. So my first scale out position was just under break even, which makes my average go up a little bit. Then I exited a big chunk at break even. Then I exited a little bit higher, not too much, and ended up with about a 25% position that I was willing to sit through a 4-hour higher low and attempt at a 4-hour trend change. So we ended up getting that 4-hour trend change. Even here, this pullback in the volume was a bit shaky. Definitely made us think, well, we might see another leg down, but bulls held it. They got their higher high. So ended up moving a stop loss today because we had this tightening range, and I put another stop loss for another, let's see, I had 25% position left. So I exited maybe another 13% of that on this bear break of this 4-hour higher low, because losing the 4-hour uptrend after just seeing a trend change on the 4-hour, so a 4-hour trend change with a lack of follow through, means zoom out and look for the potential of a daily bear flag. So this setup right now looks like a bear flag, and I want to protect against that. So again, I'm in break even mode as opposed to looking for a solid profit on this bounce, because things got so extreme. My average was not ideal for looking for a winning trade. So that shifts my strategy. No longer am I looking for a day maker or week maker. I'm looking for a break even trade and then start with a fresh clean slate. So not only is the potential bear flag keeping me cautious, but it's the preceding action before the bear flag, knowing that that was unusual and obviously it favored the bears, but making me want to protect against that in case we do see another leg down. So at this point, I've got about a 10%, 12% position left compared to what I had down when we were at 9,400. And I will put a stop loss probably below 9,978. And if we do see a bull move back up, and if we get up over 11,000, if this daily bounce in this tightening range were to get significant follow through, which is still possible, it's just not the most likely scenario, which is why I am conservative. But if we did get that move back up over 11,000, I would be getting back towards a break-even trade. And if we don't, it'll be, like I said, a loss, certainly a very manageable loss, but going to remain transparent, and we'll certainly be fine taking that loss and telling everybody about it, because losses happen in trades, and we just have to mitigate that risk from being too significant. So for the Bitcoin bulls, they need to see a bull break over the high of the move at this point of 10,540. And if we do, the next resistance again is going to be at that 10,646 level. And the bears are hoping that we continue with these lower highs, 10,540, 10,476. Anything under that's another 4-hour lower high. And bears are making entries based off these 4-hour lower highs. So there's not a whole lot of risk. If I were going to go bearish right now at 10,220, my risk would be $250 to the upside, and my reward would be potentially, $600, $800 to the downside, because if we do drop and see another leg down, we're looking back at 9,740 and then down to 9,470. And if this is a daily bear flag, the odds that we are going to lose the double bottom at 9,000, see a weekly downtrend with a lower high and lower low, lose the weekly exponential support that's been holding and is still currently holding, and see monthly consolidation begin, like Ethereum and Litecoin have already seen. Currently multiple inside bars, but if we break 9,000, we're looking down at monthly consolidation. All of those scenarios will increase likelihood significantly if this is a daily bear flag. So risk to reward for bears isn't that bad right now, and that's another reason why I'm being very cautious in a small bullish position at this point. So if you are still bullish, you certainly want to be watching stop levels, because if Bitcoin is going to follow those other names and see monthly consolidation begin, that means we're heading under 9,000. And again, the next day or two is going to give us a lot of information as to whether we can see a leg up towards 11,000 or whether we're headed back down towards 9,470. Ethereum, very weak bounce at this point. Not even a bear flag, because we don't have the upward slope associated with the bear flag. It's just sideways trading. So multiple inside bars. And if we see a bear break of this tight range, looking at it on the 4-hour time frame, exponential resistance still being a bit of a burden on the bulls. We've got resistance of 187.90, 191.47, and support is down at 181.57 and 178.47. So very tight range, a bunch of little higher lows to be watching and lower highs to be watching, and expecting a break here on the 4-hour time frame sometime in the next 24 hours. The noise you're hearing in the background as far as audio is crickets just kicking into gear as the sun just set. ETH BTC. So if ETH BTC is going to get my attention, 1756 is a key support level. Our key resistance is 1980. So we have our low, high of the bounce, held support. Bulls have to break 1980 to prove anything and change the daily trend. Otherwise, this is just a weak bounce attempt with the daily exponential resistance, just patiently waiting for another leg down to come. So it's all about those two levels. And right now we are currently, what are we about? We're much closer to a bear break than a bull break, bottom line. So Litecoin weaker, and we're almost testing the lows of 70.66. Again, the reason that I'm looking at Bitcoin potentially going for monthly consolidation is the fact that Litecoin, which led the way up with the weekly trend change first, is leading the way down potentially for monthly consolidation. We're certainly looking for a monthly higher low compared to 2217. Question is, will Bitcoin follow? So 4-hour time frame, exponential resistance for quite some time. Anything under 7608 is just a lower high, and support is down at 7163 and 7066. So two little support levels. If they break, looking on the daily time frame, we're then looking all the way back 7055, 6486. So bears are in full control of Litecoin and Ethereum with those 4-hour lower highs. And the LTC BTC chart 703, it was a solid bounce, but again, I need those daily trend changes. I keep repeating myself, but hopefully it's driving the point home where we're in such clear downtrends that I'm not interested in Litecoin or Ethereum over Bitcoin until we see daily trend changes on these charts. So we're looking at 007. We can call that a double bottom still, but again, we're nowhere near changing the daily trend at this point. So I'm still checking in on these names every day, but I have no interest in trading them anytime soon. The bulls have a lot of proving to do for me here. Looking at Ripple XRP. So XRP had a huge flush, and it's a very critical bear break. So again, we have to call it like we see it. Regardless of whether you're bullish the fundamentals of XRP or not, it is important to remain unbiased, because the level that we just broke, 282, 285, 285, all of those support levels breaking put us down to the lowest price. We have 246 here, but we even broke that level, and that took us to the lowest price since December of 2017. Obviously, that's very extremely notable, and if we see a bit more downside, again, the support is just so limited here because there hasn't been that many support levels set, and we've given back so much of this move. From 330 to where we stand right now, it's 93% giving that move back. What are the odds that XRP hits an all-time high again? Not that high, but obviously it would take some kind of massive storm of fundamental news to try and get back to those levels. It's just not looking good in any way, shape, or form on any time frame, and we've been saying that for months at this point when it started to show red flags relative to other names in the cryptocurrency space. So the weekly chart dropping down, this daily bounce, anything under 33 is just a daily lower high. Daily exponential resistance has been rejecting the price for months, and we are just looking at a lower high and 236 as the only key support level. Lose the 4-hour uptrend of higher lows, and our 4-hour lower high, or our daily lower high, will be set. So 26.21 key support. And again, if what I just said to you triggers you and you're sitting there saying, oh, you don't know anything, you're dumb, it's going to go to the moon, fundamental this, banker this, blah, 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 that's a red flag. And it's not being diligent of your emotions and recognizing what is right in front of your face and what has been written on the wall on these charts for a good amount of time, and it's just weakness. It's just complete bearish control and weakness, and it's very important to recognize that. And I think people that are really bullish on projects fundamentally but can recognize something's really wrong with these technicals, that's a big step forward in understanding how markets work and protecting yourself. Binance had a clear bear break with a lower high and lower low. We're now just trading sideways. 2620, 2417 are our support levels. You could look at this as a broader tightening weekly equilibrium where we have the low of the pullback, the high of the bounce, higher low, lower high, and the must-hold support is 2620, because if that level breaks, the weekly downtrend continues, the monthly consolidation continues, And remember when the monthly consolidation started for Binance and we were watching and saying, this could be a little bit of an indicator for the sector as a whole to start monthly consolidation. Litecoin and Ethereum quickly followed behind. Bitcoin has not yet, but it's certainly something we're cautious of. And it wouldn't be surprising to see it all if Bitcoin does have to set a monthly high or low after not consolidating on the monthly time frame for the last 8 months or however long it's been. For the bulls to do anything on Binance, we're going to have to hold that support, break 28.22, and again, weekly time frame, we're going to have to see a bull break of 31.88. So bulls have their work cut out for them. There's no big bear volume, no massive dumps on this consolidation. So far the monthly consolidation, no major red flags. Certainly still anticipating a monthly high or low, but we may not be done consolidating at this point. Link USD break is imminent. This is one to watch for the next couple days because this range is so tight. $2 support, and then we're looking up at 276 resistance, then 213 support, then 258 resistance, and now just multiple inside bars trading sideways. I need to see a break at 213 for a clear bear break, then we're looking at 2 even, and I have to see a break at 258 for a clear bull break. And we could stay within this range for another couple of days, but keep an eye on Link for a spike in volume and a spike in volatility within the next few days. So that's where we stand overall. Again, there's definitely big red flags in the altcoin space, big altcoins included in that. Monthly consolidation underway. We will need weekly trend changes on Litecoin and Ethereum to give us an indication that the monthly consolidation is done. And we're just so not even close to any kind of weekly trend change. I mean, we would have to see Ethereum bounce however hard, higher low and higher high. And that's likely going to take multiple months, a couple months to play out. So in my opinion, we could be in for some further consolidation, and how Bitcoin pulls back here is going to be very telling. Most important thing for me for Bitcoin is the weekly exponential support, which has done a great job of holding. But if we break 9,000 and lose weekly exponential support, monthly consolidation is underway, and we'll then be looking back towards monthly exponential support, which will be in the mid 7,000 range. So it's going to get very interesting. On Bitcoin, we're going to get a whole bunch of information the next 2 days. It's going to shift the odds. What's most likely? Bear flag on the daily to head back down to test our recent lows in the lower 9,000s, or bull break up towards 11,000 and weekly tightening range continues while holding exponential support. That's where we stand. I personally don't foresee any entries that I'm going to be making in the near term. If I get stopped out of the rest of my position, again, I'll take that loss and look to make it up on the next bull trade or the next 2 bull trades, however long it takes. And I will patiently be waiting for probably daily oversold conditions at that point. If we're going to drop down and break 9,000, I won't be interested in anything until we see daily oversold conditions, or because of this most recent loss, trying to play this oversold bounce, which again has worked beautifully many times. I mean, my plus minus profit versus loss on these styles of plays, because this is my edge as a trader, oversold bounces, still way in the green. So I'm not considering, not doing these style plays anymore, but it will make me more cautious in the near term, because that's a little punch in the face from the bears that I'll remember. So that's where we stand heading into the rest of the weekend. I hope you're having a good weekend. Ended here with a couple clips from walking around Arboretum today. And looking forward to hanging out with some members some more tomorrow. And then we'll get back into the swing of things and the routine. So I appreciate you all watching. Have a great night. Do good things out there as always. And we'll see you soon.